All right, we're going to move on to our next section. Yesterday we talked about calculating the surface area of rectangular prisms, and so today we're going to move on to the next progression or the next shape, which is surface area of triangular prisms. So our central question for today is, how do I calculate the surface area of triangular prisms? So if you'll copy down this essential question, please. And then as we go on, if you'll copy down this topic, the surface area of triangular prisms. Now, please make sure that you're studying, make sure that you're doing your IXLs, your digits, because a lot of these formulas, they will start building upon each other. And you've got to get that practice in, or you will probably be lost when it comes to test time. So, question on the left side, what is the formula for surface area of a triangular prism? And so, if you will copy this down. Now, as you're copying down notes, they're not for my benefit, they are for you. So make sure that you study your notes. All right, surface area for triangular prism is surface area equals 2 times the base plus the length. Now you'll notice this has an uppercase B just like the other formulas have, but it also has what is called the uppercase L. The uppercase L is called the lateral area, which represents the perimeter of the base. This is something totally new for what you've done. You have not dealt with lateral surface area. So it's the lateral area, or the lateral area is the perimeter of the base times the height of the solid. Okay? So with this component, the L, there are 2 things that you have to do. You have to find the perimeter of the base, adding up all the sides, then you multiply it times the height of the solid. That is just for that part right there. And we all know that the B, the uppercase B, is the area of the base. So you have multiple things going on with this formula. I shouldn't put that there. I don't want you to think that represents that particular part of it. So the B, as we all know, is the formula for the area of the base. Okay? So the formula for area of the base, or the area of a triangle, since we're dealing with triangular prisms, we know the formula for that would be 1/2 base times height, or base times height divided by 2. So both of these would be sufficient use. And go with one that you feel more comfortable with. An easier to use version of this is this formula here. Surface area is base times height, lowercase b, lowercase h, plus the perimeter times the uppercase H. Now, each one of these represents a certain component. When it comes to test time, later on in the school year, at the end of the school year, when you take the SC Ready, I do not know which formula they're going to give you. They may give you this formula up at the top, or they may give you this short or different version down here at the bottom. So you need to be able to use both of them and understand what the different components are. So you may see one or the other on the formula sheet. If you use the second one, we already know B represents the base of the height, or base of the triangle. Let me get this going a little bit better. We know that B represents the base of the triangle. H represents the height of the triangle. E represents the perimeter of the triangle, which is the sum of the 3 sides, times the height of the prism. Okay? So, you have 2 different formulas that you can use. Alright, so let's look at this shape right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and forth just for a second, but first I'm going to split the screen, so I won't necessarily have to go back and forth. So, what I'm going to do is turn this on so that we can see both the screen before it and this particular screen here so that we can have the formula. We know that one formula is surface area equals 2 times the uppercase B, which represents the area of the base, plus the uppercase L, which is the lateral area. The lateral area represents the perimeter of the base times the height of the solid. Or you can use surface area equals base times height, which is the base of the triangle, times the height of the triangle, plus the lowercase p, which represents the perimeter of the triangle, which is the sum of the 3 sides, times the overall height, which is the height of the prism. Okay? Now, I'm personally going to use the second one here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy it down. The more you copy it down, the better off you'll be with it. All right, so the B and the H, the lowercase b and lowercase h, and I'm going to go to the left side over here, represent this right here, the base of the triangle. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to identify what my triangle is. Well, my board's not working, so give me just a second, turn it off and turn it back on. All right, so I'm going to identify my triangle. That is my triangle. Remember, on a triangle, you look for the two sides that form the right angle. Here's this right angle, so that means this side in red and this side in red represent your base and height for the triangle. So my base would be 4.5. The height of that triangle is going to be 6. The lowercase p represents the perimeter of the triangle. All right, this is 4.5, 6, and 7.5. Can't really see it, but it's 7.5. So how do we find the perimeter of that triangle? We add them all up. So I'm going to add up 4.5, 7.5, and 6. I have to line up my decimals. So if you will add those together, when you add those together, you get hopefully you all got 18. I'm going to give you a minute to do that. So that represents my perimeter. So I'm going to substitute that up into the formula. Now my uppercase H represents the height of the prism. I need to erase that real quick. My height of my prism is the distance that connects one base to the other. So this is the distance that connects those two bases. So my uppercase H is 12. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do 4.5 times 6. That gives you 27. Plus 18 times 12 is 216. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add those together. So when it's all said and done, our surface area is 243 inches squared. What that represents is the surface area of all the sides. It represents that top rectangular piece, the front triangle, that back triangle, the very bottom, and this very left side. So you have a total of 1, 2, 3, the bottom's 4, and this right side's 5. So 5 different faces on this triangular prism. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, I didn't highlight this one on the left, but hopefully you do have it down, because it's not going to do you a bit of good. Just watch what I do. You need to actually work some things out. All right, let's use the same formula here. Surface area equals base times height of the triangle, plus the perimeter of the triangle, plus the height of the overall shape. All right, so my base and height, I'm going to go ahead and just write it out. My base and height are the two measurements that form the right angle of the triangle. So my base is 24. My height forms that right angle, so that is 35. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase that so you don't see all this writing in here. All right, my perimeter of the triangle, I'm going to add up the 3 sides, not the middle. So I'm going to add up this left side, which is 37. I'm going to add up the bottom, which is 24. And I'm going to add up this right side. Now, we don't have a measurement here. That 45 represents the distance of the entire shape. All right, so how do we find this missing side over here? Well, we're going to look on the left side. That's 37. This is an isosceles triangle, so that one's going to be 37. So if you want to write that in, that would be 37. So we're going to add those 3 sides together. So if you'll take just a minute, add those together, 37 plus 24 plus another 37. And that will give you a perimeter of 98. And then my uppercase H represents the height of the shape or the prism. My height is the part that connects the 2 bases. This is a back triangle. Here's the front triangle. So those are 2 bases. So my overall height is 45. Now I've got everything listed here. All we have to do is substitute into the formula. My base is 24. My height is 35. The perimeter is 98. And the height is 45. Now you're going to come up with some big numbers as you're doing this. So 24 times 35, you get 840. 98 times 45, you get 4,000. On my board, I'm going to turn it off again. Hold on a sec. $98 times 45, you get 4,410. You're going to add those together now, and you get a total surface area of 5,250 centimeters squared. And again, if you will copy this information down, this does you no good, as I said just a minute ago on the other problem, to just look at what I'm doing. You have to actually get in there and work. The more you work it, the more times you write down the formula, the faster you're going to learn. All right, so what I want you to do is I want you to work this one on your own. I want you to work this one on your own. So I'm going to put a little star here. Remember, the formula, the surface area equals base times height plus perimeter times height. And what I would suggest is go ahead and figure out what each one of these represents. I'm going to give you some hints. What I'm going to have here in blue represents the triangular base. That's what you're going to use for the B, the H, and the P, the lowercase b, lowercase h, and lowercase p. And what I have in red, that represents the height of the shape. That represents the overall height, which would be uppercase H. So again, if you will work through this problem, I've given everything here, the lowercase b, h, and p, the uppercase H, and all you do is substitute everything into the formula. So you're going to use the formula, base times height plus p times the height of the overall shape. So if you'll do this one, all right. Sometimes students don't realize a triangular prism can also look like this. A lot of students are used to this one on the left side, but a triangular prism can also represent this one right here. So again, if you'll try this one, so our formula surface area equals base times height plus p times h. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to write the b, the h, and p in red. So we want to find our triangle base. That is outlined in red. The uppercase H represents the height of the prism. I'll put that in blue. Now, the triangular prism has two triangular bases. So what we want to do is we want to find the other triangular base. If you'll notice, it's right here on the bottom. Now, the part or distance, the section that connects those two represents the overall height. So the overall height would be this measurement right here. So, if you will, work this problem. I'm going to put a star up here. And then, when you finish everything, if you'll go back to your digits and if you'll make sure that you have 13.1 completed, that's from yesterday. 13.2 is from last week. 13.4 is from last week. And then a new one for this one is going to be 13.3. So far you will have had 13.1, 2, 3, and 4 assigned. And then don't worry about this IXL, just refer to what's on the board. And don't worry about this right here either. So I'm going to put up here, refer to board for instructions. Alright, as you're going through this video, go back and review it if you need to. Ask me for any questions or concerns that you have, and I'll be glad to help you.